You are on the brink. You are on the brink. You are on the brink.
You're 17 years old. You live with your mother and younger sister Mary in a third-story flat in London. Your day begins at 5:30 working as a delivery boy, earning 12 shillings a week cycling through London, battling a bicycle with a slipping chain. Recruiting posters follow you everywhere, pasted on walls, sides of buses, shop windows. A little girl asking her father, "Daddy, what did you do in the Great War?" Last month you watched searchlights sweep the sky from your yard. You looked up to see zeppelins floating like silver fish through the beams. The next morning you cycled past streets with windows blown out, glass scattered like stars. The newspaper speaks of satisfactory progress or strategic withdrawals, but the casualty list tells the real story. Column after column of names, ages, regiments. Boys who lived on the same streets, sat in the same church pews, breathed the same sooty London air. You feel something when you read them. Guilt, duty, fear, all tangled together like a fishing line in your chest. Then, on a Thursday afternoon in April, it happens. You're locking your bicycle when she approaches, an attractive woman in her 20s, her dress floating in the breeze. She locks eyes with you and smiles. She has kind eyes. Her hand extends toward yours, holding a single white feather.
For courage.
As she walks away, you stand there, frozen, feeling each and every sideways glance. The feather trembles in your fingers. You know what it means. Everyone knows what it means. Coward, shirker, less than a man. As you ride your bicycle, the feather sits in your jacket pocket like a coal against your ribs. Every person you pass seems to know. In your room, you hold the feather up to the lamplight. Translucent, delicate, such a small thing to carry such weight. On Saturday morning, you walk into the recruiting office. The sergeant behind the desk barely even looks up from his paperwork.
Your age?
You've never been a good liar, but what's a few months? You tell him 18.
Close enough. Your king's showing.
You sign your name, and just like that, you're a soldier. Your new khaki uniform feels stiff. As you take a walk through Hyde Park in hopes of breaking it in, you hear a familiar voice. Your heart pounds as you approach the stage. She spots you and calls you up.
Now here's a fine example of British courage.
Standing beside her, you feel the crowd's approval wash over you like warm water. She turns to you, tears streaming down her face, and reaches into your jacket pocket. Her fingers find the feather. She holds it up for all to see, and then tears it in half. Before you can react, she pulls you close and kisses you.
This is what awaits every man who chooses courage over cowardice.
As you float off the stage, other men look at you with respect. Women smile. Children salute. You can't stop touching your lips where she kissed you. In 2 weeks, you'll ship out. Tonight, you sit by your window, listening to Miss Henderson play Danny Boy on her piano. The war feels both very close and very far away. You're 17 years old, and you've learned what it costs to be called a man. Whether that price is worth paying, only France will tell.
The Army and the Navy need attention. The outlook isn't healthy, you'll admit. But I've a perfect dream of a new recruiting scheme which I think is absolutely it. On Sunday, I walk out with the soldier. Monday, I'm taken by a tar. Tuesday, I'm out with a baby Boy Scout. On Wednesday, a huzzah! On Thursday, I gang out with a Scotty. On Friday, the captain of the crew. But on Saturday, I'm willing, if you'll only take the shilling, to make a man of any one of you.
This is propaganda.
In England during the Great War, a book called Four Feathers, originally published more than a decade prior, was going through a resurgence in popularity. It told the story of a young military officer who resigned out of fear and is given a series of white feathers to symbolize his cowardice. The last feather is bestowed by the woman he loves and is the catalyst he needs to return to battle.
I do not believe that it is true. You could not look me in the face so steadily were it true. 3 little white feathers and the world's at an end. Thank you. Thank you. You're too kind.
The officer charged with recruiting British soldiers into the war, Admiral Charles Penrose Fitzgerald, was inspired by the theatrics. He had 30 women hand out white feathers to men in the streets not in uniform.
Women and girls of England, you cannot shoulder a rifle, but you can actually serve her in the way she needs most. Give her the men whom she wants. Use all the influence you possess to urge him to serve his country.
This stunt, amplified by the press, sparked a movement. Thousands of women across England joined the Order of the White Feather, shaming men in public for not serving in the war. At first, the campaign was celebrated, but then the casualties of war began to hit home.
The king himself gave my boy his Victoria's crown. It's the highest honor a soldier can get, you know. Well, he was meeting some mates at the park when a pack of girls saw them, handed him one of those damned white feathers. He told me he was probably the only soldier who received both badges in the same day. You know, the badge of the war for courage and the badge of the war for being a coward. A week later, he went back to the front. He never came back.
As the death toll rose and men returned wounded from battle, public opinion began to turn.
I was riding a tram, minding me own, when a girl came up and asked, "Why aren't you in France?" She tried to stick me with the white feather. Rolled up my sleeve and showed her where I lost me hand in the war. Stuck it right in her face. That shut her up.
But it wasn't the administration who faced the scorn of the public. It was the women of England.
They're sending our sons to their deaths, like it's some kind of game. They must be sick in the head.
Even though they were only doing what their own government encouraged them to do.
We went from being beloved on the home front to being seen as villains. All the anger over the war, it was focused on us.
The White Feather campaign had all the elements of effective propaganda. It exploited the insecurities of sexual desire that govern man's behaviors, reaching in deep and touching an evolutionary nerve.
Is what awaits every man who chooses courage over cowardice.
It centered on a clear and memorable symbol that could be imbued with significant depth of meaning, a symbol that already contained a high degree of cultural relevance.
3 little white feathers and the world's at an end.
And it had virality. It was participatory. It gave women a tangible call to action that comes with the high of being swept up by the groundswell of a social movement.
Give her the men whom she wants.
Yet, the White Feather campaign backfired, spectacularly. The image of a warrior is central to a nation's identity and mythologies. The mistake the White Feather campaign made was to put into question a man's motivation of service.
If he does not think that you and your country are worth fighting for, do you think he is worthy of you?
Are they doing it for the glory of their nation and to serve others? Or are they doing it to avoid feeling sorry for themselves? Or worse, to get laid? It turned being a warrior from a point of national pride to a point of shame.
Women will forgive almost anything in a man, except cowardice and treason.
They were right about how powerful sex and the female gaze are as tools for motivating soldiers. They were only wrong about the execution. If you weaponize shame to motivate the individual, you risk undermining the nation's identity and what it means to fight for your country.
Forward Joseph's army, marching without fear, with our brave commander safely in the rear. He boasts and skites from morn till night, and thinks he's very brave, but the men who really did the job are dead and in their grave. Forward Joseph's army, marching without fear, with our brave commander safely in the rear.
An ocean away, the people of the United States don't understand the Great War, and they don't want to be involved. In 1916, President Woodrow Wilson runs for re-election on a platform of keeping us out of the fighting in Europe. But by his inauguration, his position has changed.
The world must be made safe for democracy. Its peace must be planted upon the tested foundations of political liberty. We are but one of the champions of the rights of mankind.
Congress formally declares war on Germany, empowering Wilson to deploy American troops abroad. But Wilson still needs to convince the American people. He forms the Committee of Public Information, a team of journalists, intellectuals, and artists who come together to launch the first full-scale propaganda effort across all means of mass communication. The themes they invented to beat the drums of war are still reverberating in our ears to this day. 1. Dehumanize the enemy by associating them with animals.
Destroy the mad brute.
2. Present the war as a vehicle for freedom, to spread democracy to those without.
Keeping the world safe for democracy.
3. Get men to see enlistment as what real men do.
Gee, if I were a man, I'd join the Navy. Be a man and do it. Enlist.
Do women see you as brave? Are they proud of you? Do they desire you? In posters, in newspaper headlines, the drum beats louder and louder.
My girl would show me papers carrying cruelties committed by the Huns. She called me a coward, said that I was ungrateful by not serving our country, tormented me with the fact that she'd never marry me unless I entered the army. She remained deaf to any of my phone calls and would not answer any of my letters.
These are the words of Joseph Rizzi.
It was worth the going, just to find out that my girl loved me.
Be a man.
In September of 1917, Joseph Rizzi went to war. Before shipping off to France, Rizzi's sent to Camp Doniphan in Oklahoma. On arrival, he walks past heaps of building materials and half-built barracks. The banging of hammers is relentless, echoing through the camp as they scale up for the influx of young men to follow in Rizzi's footsteps. Each day he stands in long lines at the mess hall, waiting for standard-issue army beans and a scalding hot metal coffee cup, its broken handle making it impossible to grip. And each night he collapses into a stiff metal cot, one of many lining the walls of the cavernous shed he'll call home for the next 6 months, a luxury compared to what comes next. War is hell, but camp is a different kind of hell. The physical and emotional strain, the monotony, the loneliness. This is the reality of what Rizzi signed up for. Propaganda may have succeeded in getting him here, but how's he supposed to endure these hardships? And when the time finally comes, how do we ensure he'll pull the trigger? This was a big concern for the U.S. Army, and it tasked a medical doctor in general by the name of Edward Munson to find the answer. His research led to the creation of the morale branch, a first of its kind. On the surface, the morale branch activities were about what you might expect. Sports, games, theater, dance nights with girls bussed in from nearby towns, all administered through dozens of government and NGO groups. They also distributed media for the troops, like Trench and Camp, the military newspaper, which included gut-wrenching accounts of German atrocities, alongside heart-wrenching letters of American wives to their husbands.
My dearest John, there's a strain of old-fashioned in my nature which seems to demand masculine protection. I've always had such protection. First father's, now yours.
But the morale branch's hidden influence was built on a deeper theory of control. General Munson had become obsessed. What motivates a man to be the best warrior he can be? Beyond the training, beyond the fitness, beyond the weapons, what will best prepare his mind for battle? His answer?
You make him horny.
A healthy sex drive can be channeled into productive service.
But you make sure he can't get off.
Ejaculating is like short-circuiting an electric current. It deprives the engine of its power.
This can be channeled into obedience and aggression, two prime attributes for the perfect warrior.
A sexually satisfied soldier lacks character.
You surround them with attractive women, such as the staff at the mess hall.
We directed the YMCA to hire college-educated women in their 30s. With a balance of beauty and brains, they were able to rebuff any sexual advances.
Or by hosting regular dance nights.
We handpicked the girls and screened them on their moral upbringing before bussing them in.
But make sure there's no coital betrayal.
The building's exits would be locked, ensuring no one could even slip out. There was no risk of depleting all that hard-earned sexual energy.
The Morale Branch engineered letter-writing campaigns supported by full-page editorials that reached millions, encouraging women to write and remind men of what they were fighting for back home.
I know you're out on the front, pressing ahead, steadily, grimly. At night when my eyes are closed, I have a vision of you, tall and proud, rushing forward.
In his memoirs, Rizzi speaks of the power of such motivation.
One night in France, I had a strong desire to enjoy the comradeship of the opposite sex. But I knew the military police guarded the entrances to the brothels in the town I was stationed. In my frustration, I took out my mother and sweetheart's pictures to look at. The will to conquer became strong.
This covert edging operation influenced many aspects of Rizzi and his fellow soldiers' experiences at both training camp and abroad. But soon that wasn't enough. It began exerting control over neighboring towns, then eventually over an entire nation.
Prior to World War I, red light districts were commonplace in American life. Dedicated areas where prostitution, gambling, and other vices were contained. At its peak, there were 150 across the U.S. Officials saw them as an unpleasant necessity for urban living, like sewers or sprawling parking lots. But the Morale Branch saw them as an existential threat to its mission. It didn't matter how regimented a soldier's life was within the camps if he could simply go into town, get drunk, and hire a prostitute. The growing moral reform movement of America now had an unexpected new ally in the U.S. military.
For the first time in our history, men in power are sufficiently interested and sympathetic to furnish legislative authority, money, and moral support for the realization of ideals so long upheld by people with social vision.
Together, they waged a culture war.
And the worst of all our German enemies, the most treacherous, the most menacing, are Pabst, Schlitz, Blatz, and Miller.
We must not forget that just below the glistening grandeur, there's an awful undertone of pathos and despair that makes the angels weep.
Why didn't Father stop drinking?
The saloon is an infidel. It has no faith in God, has no religion. Close every church in the land.
You legalized the saloons that made me a drunkard and a murderer. And you are guilty with me before God and men for the murder of my wife.
We must get busy and strike at the root of the evil and strike hard.
These activities are all being carried on under the direction of the War Commission on Training Camp Activities and is called war work, but it cannot end.
The War and Navy departments are a unit in their determination to have a clean Army and Navy and use federal authority to wake up those complacent communities which are willing to see both men and women exploited.
The Morale Branch exerted pressure on neighboring towns to establish dry zones, ban the sale of alcohol to soldiers in uniform, and eradicate their red light districts altogether. As the war hit its peak, even Congress got on board. They passed the Chamberlain-Kahn Act of 1918, better known as the American Plan. This act granted police, military, and public health officials the authority to arrest women even suspected of prostitution. If they tested positive for venereal disease, they'd be detained.
But all of our sex offenders are not prostitutes, as that term is generally understood. In some cases, she's the daughter of a well-to-do family.
This broadened definition of sex offender included local girls who had developed khaki fever, a term derived from the uniforms the soldiers wore.
Young girls are flocking to our camp towns, attracted to the khaki. One such girl said that she'd never sold herself to a civilian, but felt she was doing her bit when she'd been with 8 soldiers in a night.
Khaki fever is a pretty direct result of propaganda efforts framing enlisted men as attractive and romanticizing soldiers.
The girls around the large aviation fields have been frequently heard to say, "I'll do anything they ask me to. Don't they face death for us every day?" These girls must be made to realize the dangers that lie in sexual access to the aviator.
As thousands of women were detained across the country, an internment camp system had to be constructed to house them all. By the end of the war, over 30,000 women were imprisoned, simply for the crime of being deemed too promiscuous by the state.
With the responsibility placed squarely on the public, where it belongs, may we not look forward to the elimination of the grosser forms of vice within our own generation?
By 1920, most red light districts were shut down. 41 states had banned them outright, and the sale of alcohol was prohibited nationally through the ratification of the 18th Amendment. The American plan remained in place through 1952. The war was over, but the cultural imprint of the morale branch remained. The story of Prohibition we're told today is that it was a byproduct of America's puritanical impulse, driven by wives and mothers. There's no mention of the military's direct involvement. Without the morale branch, would we have had the Prohibition chapter of the American story? Would prostitution still be widely legal? Would red light districts still be commonplace? When one advocates for a return to tradition, sometimes they're advocating for a return to values that never actually existed. A return to beliefs not deeply held by people, but engineered by a handful of men as a means of control.
I've got the alcoholic blues. No more beer, my heart to cheer. Goodbye, whiskey, you used to make me pretty. So long, highball, so long, gin. Oh, tell me when you're coming back again. Blue, I've got the blues since they amputated.
The modern man is a free man. His motivations are less tied to collective goals and more to his own personal desires. So the Great War became a turning point for motivating the warrior.
If there's one organization that knows a powerful weapon when it sees one, it's the United States military. In the century that follows, sex becomes one of the most prolific and versatile weapons in its arsenal. But the collateral damage isn't only born in the trenches, it impacts everyone. The male ego, the female psyche, the national identity.
And the blowback only intensifies as these methods become more sophisticated, more obliquely entangled with culture, growing from hairline fractures through an institution to social chasms through an entire nation. This is propaganda.
It's all about the girl behind the man behind the gun. She's a secret weapon, the propaganda spun. Her smile can build armies to make the battles won. Oh, it's all about the girl behind the man behind the gun. For spurring violent tendencies, we pull them in the muck, exploit their primal fantasies and make them want to fuck. A formula for victory, it don't come down to luck. Indeed, there ain't no mystery, we make them want to fuck.
This is Propaganda is written, produced, and performed by Joshua Belhumeur and Malcolm Critcher, principals at Brink, a creative studio that makes media for people, not algorithms. Learn more about us at brink.com and hire us, please, to make propaganda for you. Our associate producer is Reed Chandler, and additional voice acting was provided by Rhiannon Lane. This is independently produced, so please support us by rating, reviewing, sharing. Those simple actions can really help us grow an audience and find opportunities to make more good stuff. We also have merch available at thisispropaganda.show. Finally, this is backed by research from dozens of sources, all of which are available in the show notes, again, at thisispropaganda.show. But we wanted to give a special shout out to Eric Rogers, whose work at the University of Cambridge was the cornerstone of this episode. Thanks, Eric.
Now the army's cut. We've lodged it deep into the brain. They really want to fuck. But until the war is over, they're not allowed to fuck.
You are on the brink. You are on the brink. You are on the brink.